8 spine-chilling paranormal clips of haunted ghost sightings that will terrify you. The Matthews family never imagined their safe little haven in Maplewood would turn into a nightmare. It all started after Mark picked up those late-night shifts at the convenience store. The once routine sounds of crickets chirping outside their home were replaced by unsettling silence, as if the world around them held its breath, waiting. Flickering lights danced in the living room each time darkness fell, threatening to plunge their reality into shadows. One evening, while Sarah washed the dishes, she heard whispers slithering through the hallways. Soft and melodic, yet utterly chilling. Leaning in to listen, the words twisted around her mind as if warning her of an impending doom. Her heart raced, pounding against her ribcage in a frantic rhythm. "Mark?" she called, but the echoing silence only deepened her fear. Meanwhile, Lily's curiosity led her to explore the attic. Dust motes swirled in the dim light as she rummaged through boxes, revealing forgotten memories. Suddenly, her hand brushed against something cold and metallic, a dusty old home video camera. Excitedly, she lugged the relic down to the living room, eager to uncover its mysteries. As the grainy footage flickered to life on the screen, the Matthews family froze in horror. Their home, decades earlier, was captured through a lens that unveiled horrific secrets. A previously joyful family, now twisted beneath shadows, disappeared under whispers meant to be buried. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The unease mounted as Mark returned home from work, his brow furrowed. Rumors about the store began to entwine with the whispers at home. Disappearances, dark secrets. He felt a chill creep into his bones, manifestations of fear hiding behind every corner. Mrs. Abernathy, that sweet old neighbor from 2 doors down, seemed to know more than she let on. He could feel her eyes on him, a predatory patience hidden beneath her smile. One fateful night, as Mark faced a restless sleep, a chilling draft swept through the house. It felt alive, wrapping around him like icy fingers, drawing him toward the whispers. He needed answers now. Every shadow, every creak of the floorboards seemed to taunt him. Doubt gnawed at his mind. Were they truly safe here, or were they merely delaying the inevitable? Then came the peak moment. In the middle of the night, something shifted in the hallway. It wasn't the house settling, it was something much worse. A shadow shifted in his peripheral vision, and when he turned, it was gone. Heart hammering, he felt it, a presence, lurking just beyond the safety of light. The whispers grew louder, entwining with his racing pulse, closing in until fear surged through him like electricity. As the weight of their home's dark past bore down upon them, the Matthews family found themselves at a crossroads between the facade of comfort and the terrifying truth that brewed just beneath the surface. Would they uncover the dark secrets that awaited them, or would they become the latest victims of Maplewood's haunting? Their very lives now hung on the edge of a knife, teetering dangerously close to the brink. The next morning, Mark awoke with the weight of the night pressing down on him. Shadows still lingered in the corners of his vision as he stumbled to the kitchen. Sarah stood by the sink, lost in thought, her hands working the dishes with a mechanical precision that unnerved him. He could see her mind racing behind her tired eyes. "Morning," he muttered, trying to shake off the remnants of nightmares. She turned slowly, offering a weak smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Did you hear anything last night?" Sarah asked, her voice scarcely a whisper. It was as if she feared the mere mention of it would amplify the horror. Mark hesitated. "Yeah, shadows, whispers." He didn't need to say more. They both felt it, the quiet dread enveloping their home like a fog. It was as if their safe haven had transformed into a haunting ground overnight. Lily's excitement over the camera was short-lived. When Mark mentioned it to Sarah, her expression hardened. "Lily shouldn't have brought that thing back. We don't know where it's been." She trailed off, lost in thought, a frown creasing her forehead. Just then, Lily trotted into the kitchen, her cheeks flushed, eyes bright with innocence. "Can I keep the camera, Dad? I want to record some stuff." Mark exchanged a glance with Sarah, concern tangible between them. "We don't need any extra. It was in our attic. It has to be safe," Lily protested, her voice mixing with the rising tension. "Lily, we need to stay away from anything that belonged to anyone before us," Sarah snapped, her own fear peeling away at her resolve. Mark felt the atmosphere shift. The house seemed to hum with a low, ominous vibration, as if it disapproved of the family's argument. Suddenly, the power flickered, drawing their attention. The lights dimmed to a haunting glow before bursting back to brightness. The refrigerator's gentle hum interrupted for a heartbeat. They all froze, caught in a tense pause as the lingering echo of whispers wrapped around them like barbed wire. It was then that Mark decided. "Let's watch the footage," he said, trying to mask his rising dread with determination. He needed answers. In the living room, the old camera sat ominously in the center of the coffee table. Mark's hands trembled as he set it up, the anticipation thick in the air. As the footage started rolling, the family's faces froze. A darkened version of their living room appeared, but without the furniture. It felt foreign, yet familiar. Figures darted across the screen, laughter echoing, but their smiles felt sinister. The woman in the video became aware of something behind her. Her laughter turned to screams, raw and desperate, before cutting off abruptly. Mark straightened, cold sweat pooling at his temples. "What the hell was that?" he choked, eyes wide. It didn't just replay a history, it revealed a fate. As the footage ended, a chilling silence filled the room. But it was abruptly disturbed by a soft, pitiful mewl from outside, a sound that sent shivers down their spines. Lily dashed to the window, her small fingers pulling back the curtain. "It's just a cat," she called, her voice brightening, but even to her it sounded forced. The creature outside, tawny and gaunt, stared up at them. It wasn't just a cat. It had eyes filled with a terrible understanding. As they shared nervous glances, the wall creaked, drawing them from the abnormal creature outside. It sounded like scratching, like fingernails clawing against the wooden frame, angry and relentless. "Did you hear that?" Sarah's voice was a frightened whisper. Mark felt the shift in the air. "We need to leave," he said urgently, but deep down he knew it wasn't that simple. They stood frozen, entangled in a fear that wrapped tighter with each passing moment. The walls felt alive, breathing slowly in and out around them, taunting their every move. The whispers surged again, now louder and more insistent. And one ghastly word cut through the chaos. "Help." Mark exchanged glances, 1,000 questions forming in his heart. What did the echoes truly want? Just as the oppressive weight of the house finally struck, the camera flickered back on, revealing a final image that made their blood run cold. In the grainy frame, right behind them, a shadowy figure was rising. Who is that?" Lily stuttered, backing away in horror. The question hung in the air like the promise of further terror, leaving the Matthews family gripping tightly to the precipice of dread they now faced. Would they confront the past that clawed at their present, or would they remain trapped in the same shadows forever? Mark took a hesitant step back, his heart racing like a wild drumbeat. The shadow behind them loomed large and ethereal, pushing against the edges of reality and twisting the air like steam. Moments stretched like chewing gum, and the room felt suffocatingly small. They were trapped in a frame of horror, and the dark silhouette seemed to stretch, claws ready to reach out. "Stay back," he hissed, protective instinct surging. But even as he spoke, doubt gnawed at him. What could he protect them from when they didn't even know what they were dealing with? The scratching continued, a relentless chorus accompanied by those haunting whispers. "Help! Help!" The voice swirled around them, insistent and pleading. For a moment, Mark wondered if it could take human form, the essence of a ghostly being weaving through the silence. "Get away from the window," Sarah whispered, her voice shaking as she liquidated all warmth from their hiding place. She was rooted, though, refusing to surrender her eyes to whatever lay beyond that thin layer of glass. The cat outside seemed to look right through them, as if it knew the secrets whispered in the dark. Mark turned back to the camera on the table, still flickering with that spectral image. In an instant of madness, he reached for it, searching for some way to banish the horror that had woven itself through their lives. But the moment he touched the cold plastic, the air around him crackled with anger. A flash of electric tension zapped through his fingertips. "Mark, don't!" Sarah shouted, pain etched across her face, but it was too late. The screen erupted with static, and he felt something pull him, something alive, reaching from the depths of that cursed footage. Shadows morphed within the screen, swirling like darkness unleashed. The room felt hotter, the air thick with the acrid scent of fear. A sudden wail erupted from Lily, tearing Mark from his trance. He turned, only to see her small frame trembling against the wall, her eyes wide and reflecting sheer terror. "I don't want to be here! I want to go home!" Mark felt the walls tremble in response, a low growl reverberating through the very foundation of the house. It was unsettling, almost as if the house itself were reproaching them for peering too closely into its forgotten past. "Take her," Sarah declared, pointing towards the hallway. "We have to get out, now!" Her resolve solidified. Mark grabbed Lily's small hand, her palm sweaty and trembling in his grip. They raced toward the hallway, heartbeats thudding in synchrony with the frantic scratching behind them, now sounding like desperate nails against wood, merciless and haunting. Just as they reached the front door, it slammed shut with an earth-shattering bang, shaking the very air around them. The doorknob twisted, a shadow directly blocking their escape. Mark pushed against the door, a surge of adrenaline coursing through him, but it wouldn't budge. What unseen force was keeping them inside? The house was alive with malice now. The whispers grew, now layered with laughter, cackling, mocking. "Help! Help! You can't leave!"
Mark's breath caught in his throat as he turned back towards Sarah, whose face was twisted in horror. In that fleeting moment, their eyes met, hers wide with terror, his filled with determination. They had to remain united against this darkness, but the walls closed in, shadows merging into one colossal figure, its intentions unknown. In one last desperate attempt, Mark shouted, "We're not afraid of you!" But deep inside, he felt the fear gnaw at his resolve. All he wanted was to escape, but perhaps the true
horror lay not in the stuff of nightmares, but in what they would find if they froze in the face of whatever lurked just beyond their perception. The walls pulsed as if animated by a sinister breath, and then, in a moment that felt like time stood still, the creature dropped its solid form, shapeless and unfathomable, a veil lifting from the truth of their plight. Then there it was, a horrid, gut-wrenching revelation, one they had all feared to confront. The figure began to whisper their names, the intimacy of it clawing at their minds. And as they clung to each other, terror flaring in every movement, a thought crept into Mark's mind. What if the figures they feared were not just strangers from a forgotten past, but some distorted version of themselves? As the shadows writhed and the whispers continued to beckon, a final chilling thought anchored itself in Mark's heart. If they were to face this, they would have to confront a truth far darker than any presence in the attic. What awaited them was not just a choice between past and present, but a terrifying plunge into an unsettling future, where maybe, just maybe, they would become the very echoes they sought to escape. What would the darkness reveal next? The walls seemed to tighten around them, pulsing with life, as the whispers grew louder, more distinct, a choir of distorted voices clawing at their sanity. Mark's heart thundered in his chest, each beat steadying the paralyzing fear that grasped at his throat. The sound of their names lingered heavy in the air, winding around him like a noose. "Mark," a voice purred, sultry and sickening. "Sarah, Lily." He squeezed Lily's hand tighter, a desperate anchor against the storm of dread swirling around them. "Stay close, don't look away," Mark urged, trying to maintain his composure for both their sakes. The pulse of the house echoed in rhythm with their panicked breaths. Each whisper was a taunt, a reminder that they were far from alone. "Remember us?" the voices teased, like a rush of wind through the cracks in the walls, twisting the memories of those who'd come before into their own personal hell. Mark felt bile rise in his throat as he turned to Sarah, hunting her gaze for hope. "What do they want?" she gasped, her eyes darting around the room, searching for escape. "I don't know," he admitted, fear slicing through his mind, pulsing with uncertainty. "But we can't let them take us." As if in answer, the shadows surged, dimming the flickering light. The atmosphere weighed heavier, the room distorting in his periphery, as if trying to reshape reality itself. The edges of the room darkened, swallowing the little light that remained. "Leave," a strangled voice gasped from somewhere in the depths of the shadows. "Leave us alone." But it sounded less like a plea and more like an order, sending a chill up Mark's spine. "We're not going anywhere," he shouted defiantly, trying to rally his strength against the oppressive atmosphere. "Coward," the whispers mockingly chastised, reverberating through his skull. The shadows twitched around him like living smoke, shards of darkness reaching toward him, hungry for fear. Then, with a violent whoosh, a gust of icy wind swept through the room, knocking Sarah back against the wall. "Sarah!" Mark screamed, lunging forward. But the entity that lurked was far too powerful, a tempest of night consuming everything in its path. "Run!" Sarah shouted, scrambling back to her feet with urgency. But as Mark turned to signal Lily, he saw her frozen in place, staring wide-eyed at the shadows. "Lily, please!" He reached out to her, but her expression stilled his breath. A flicker of something unseen danced in her young eyes, something deep and dark that shouldn't belong to a child. "Mark, help me," she murmured, her voice eerily calm, mixed with the echo of those not quite lost. "The shadows will keep me safe." Time froze. Every instinct screamed at Mark to run, to get his daughter out of there, yet something tied him to the ground. The shadows loomed behind Lily, swirling, beckoning. What were they telling her? "No!" He surged forward, panic fueling every nerve in his body. "They're lying! They'll hurt you!" As he grabbed Lily's hand, a screech erupted, tearing through the air, filled with rage and grief. The shadows twined tighter, disgust and malevolence radiating like heat from a fire. They were angry. He felt the house shift around them like the twisting of an animal about to pounce. "Don't let them take you," Mark pleaded, fighting against the shadow's grasp, each second dripping with terror as he ushered Sarah and Lily toward what he hoped was a path to freedom. Suddenly, the walls yawned wide, showcasing a scene at the end of a dilapidated hallway. Faces pressed against panels, clawing fingers reaching, mouths open in silent screams. Reality splintered. This wasn't just a house, it was a prison, wrapped around them like a serpent ready to swallow them whole. "Mark, this way!" Sarah shouted, dragging Lily out of her stupor. But the shadows shifted again, tightening their hold. Mark propelled forward, dread filling every fiber of his being. What fate awaited if they stumbled too deep into the tendrils of darkness? As they raced toward the corridor, voices called out, weaving tales of despair and loss, each offering a chilling glimpse of what lay behind, the glimmer of hope lost amidst the chaos. But could they truly escape? Would the shadows relent? Or was their only salvation buried in the horrors that had come before them? As they inched closer to the door, the house shuddered again, and the whispers morphed into anguished wails. "You can't leave." They surged forward, hungry for recognition, desperate for souls to bind. The threshold loomed before them, yet it felt impossibly far, as another guttural roar echoed from the darkness, tearing through Mark's resolve. Would they make it out, or would they become the next victims of this relentless, ravenous darkness? A panic looped back to him as they rushed toward the door, shadows clawing at their heels, time ticking down before it was too late. And just as hope sparked, the barrier cracked, revealing a glimpse of the outside world. The escape lit by the moon, its silver glow fighting to dispel the black. But darkness rolled thick, the air thickening with dread. Would they reach it in time, or would they fade into the embrace of their own nightmares? The door loomed like a mirage, its edges blurring as if the air was thickening around it. Mark could feel the shadows biting at his heels, pulling him back into the suffocating darkness. Desperation clawed at his throat, a grim reminder that they were sliding toward the brink. "Lily, move!" he yelled, the urgency rasping against his vocal cords. With a last burst of strength, he tugged at her hand, dragging her closer to the illuminated escape. "Wait!" she whimpered, eyes transfixed on the shadow dancing at the corner with a sultry smile that twisted his stomach. "They're waiting. They want us too." "Don't listen to them!" Sarah's voice rang like an alarm, slicing through the fog of hesitation that encased Lily. "They're liars! Run!"
The shadows recoiled at her defiance, screeching with anger as the trio barreled toward the door. Mark's heart felt like a war drum, each thud resonating with an urgency that urged him to push harder, run faster. As they neared the exit, a tremendous force slammed against him, jolting him sideways. He barely managed to catch himself, his breath coming in quick, jagged bursts. "Mark!" Sarah screamed, scrambling for balance as another unseen force tried to throw them back. "We can't stop!" With every step, the glowing threshold seemed to flicker, the comforting light wavering like a candle in a storm. Mark's mind raced. Was the house shifting to swallow them whole? The walls pulsed, alive and throbbing with a dark energy, each heartbeat a reminder that they were still trapped. Lily's hand slackened in his grip, the change almost imperceptible, yet enough to send ice through his veins. "Stay with me!" he shouted, his eyes darting to her. But the way she stared ahead, her mouth slightly parted in awe, chilled him to the core. "Mark," she breathed, her voice all but a sigh now. "They said we could be free if we let go." "No!" He pulled her toward him, his fingers tightening around her wrist. "You don't want to be free like that. They're trying to deceive you." "Mark, please," Sarah entreated, her brow furrowed, the tension between them thickening. "Lily, listen to me," Mark fought to keep his voice steady. Everything in him screamed to break the spell around her. "You're stronger than this. We can beat them." But doubt flickered in her eyes, and in that moment, a shadow snaked around her like a noose. The fingers coiled tightly, tugging her back with insatiable greed. With a heart-wrenching cry, Mark lunged
forward as the shadows swept higher, trying to claw her away from him. "Don't let them take you!" Every ounce of his being was focused on that pull, every muscle straining as he felt the weight of the darkness bear down on him. In one last act of desperation, he wrenched his arm outwards, grasping a shard of what seemed like light infused in the darkness. As he broke through the barrier, a cascade of frenetic whispers surged in response, a wave of rage echoing like thunder in his ears. "Coward!" they screeched. "You can't leave! You belong to us!" Mark pushed through the light, feeling the warmth of its touch expand around him. But just as the glimmer seemed to embrace him, a cold hand clamped around his ankle, sending electric shock waves of fear up his spine. "Daddy!" Lily's scream pierced through the chaos. The sheer force of the shadows wrenched him back. He fell, scrambling for the door only inches away, while Sarah struggled valiantly, fighting a battle all her own against the ever-deepening twilight. Mark's fingers clawed at the threshold, trembling against the suffocating mass, trying to pull him back into the darkness. The light behind him flickered and dimmed, a dying star. He caught one last glance at his daughter, her expression flickering between fear and confusion, the sinister shadow whispering secrets only meant for a child, for Lily. "Sarah, help me!" he cried, helplessness consuming him. "Go, now!" she shouted, her voice resonating like a shield. And just as something broke free from the shadows, a figure, a face morphed from twisted despair, Mark reached forward with everything he had, diving past the threshold. But was it enough? A deafening roar echoed behind him as the door slammed shut, but part of him still felt the pull, knowing they might not be free just yet. Each breath echoed in his chest, thick with the scent of despair lingering in the air. In the stillness that followed, behind the closed door, whispers began anew, filling the darkness with more names, more echoes of those who had come and gone. "Are we safe?" he breathed, glancing at Sarah and Lily, searching for reassurance that it wasn't over yet. As he looked down, Lily's eyes widened in horror as a shadow crept back under the door, curling around their feet like smoke. "No, please, not again."
A spine-chilling realization hit him. They might have escaped the house, but what awaited them outside was just the beginning. "We need to run," he urged again, and just as he turned on his heel to bolt, the shadows hissed through the gap, revealing something that could change everything. What had they left behind, and would it follow them into the light? Mark's heart thundered in his chest as he pulled Lily and Sarah away from the door, but the shadows writhed around their ankles like serpents, hissing with an almost palpable hunger. He glanced back, half expecting to see the sinister figure break free from the dark.
Instead, the air was thick with their whispers, an insidious chorus that slithered into his ear, tugging at his sanity. "Mark," Lily's voice trembled, still captivated by the darkness. "What if they were right? What if we could be free?" "No," he snapped, fighting against the despair creeping into his voice. "They're lying to you. We're not safe yet." Sarah was scanning their surroundings, her eyes darting between the trees that closed in around them. "The road! We need to get to the road!" she shouted, urgency igniting a spark of determination in Mark. Suddenly, a heavy fog rolled in, smothering the path ahead and obscuring their escape. The oppressive weight pressed against them, mingling with the whispers that clawed beneath their skin. "This isn't real!" he cried, trying to drown out the voices. "We just have to keep moving!" With a grip that felt both tight and fragile, he tugged Lily forward. But a scream erupted from Sarah, slicing through the fog as a figure emerged, a silhouette dropping from the trees, dark as despair. "Step back!" Mark shouted, pulling Lily close. The figure moved with fluid grace, weaving in and out of the mist, its laugh echoing unnervingly like a mockery of joy. "Daddy, it knows me," Lily pleaded, her voice almost a whisper, entranced by the creature's unnatural charm. "No, it wants you, Lily! Don't listen!" Panic surged through him, a tidal wave of terror engulfing his mind. Mark's instincts kicked in. With one swift motion, he yanked Lily further from the figure, feeling the pull of the shadows break momentarily. They moved, darting toward where the road ought to be, the outline hazy in the fog, like a ghost. Hope flickered, barely a candle's light against the encroaching darkness. Behind them, the figure's laughter turned into a growl, thick with rage. "You can't escape what you are. You belong with us." The words hung in the air, taunting. Suddenly, icy hands cupped Mark's shoulders, sending a shudder through his spine. He shoved forward, screaming, "Run!" The shadows surged, clawing for his heels, desperate to swallow them back into whatever nightmare lurked beyond. The trees were thinned now, revealing a faint stretch of asphalt. With every step, they were within reach of escape. Adrenaline flooded Mark's veins. But his thoughts shifted as he remembered his wife. Hers was the face he could never forget, lost now in the heart of that house. Had she been taken too? Did the shadows claim her? The thought churned in his gut, and for a brief moment despair outweighed hope. "Mark!" Sarah yelled, breaking through his thoughts. "We're almost there!" He looked at Lily. Her eyes sparkled with an innocence tainted by darkness. "Will we go home?" she asked, uncertainty creeping into her voice. "Of course we will," he assured her, although the truth hung heavy in his chest. He felt hollowed out, carried by instinct alone. They burst through the clearing, the shadows at their backs clawing wildly, hungry and relentless. As the pavement kissed their feet, the fog thickened. "Keep running!" Sarah's voice was a lifeline, but even as they ran, Mark felt a chill skitter down his spine. He caught a glimpse of the shadow extending, zigzagging through the trees, a solid mass of terror determined to break free. Once they reached the road, hope would bathe them in its light, but what if it dashed away too soon? What if the darkness only strengthened? "Look!" Sarah pointed ahead, her breath ragged. There, headlights pierced the fog, a car approaching, maybe their salvation. But dread swirled within him, and as he glanced back, the figure was gone. "Drive! Please drive!" Mark screamed, waving frantically. But before the headlights could break through the fog, a voice rasped through the air behind them. "You can't escape, Mark. You don't know what you've unleashed." Ice gripped his heart as he recognized the voice. It was hers. "Mommy?" Lily whispered, her voice barely a flutter over the noise. He turned to see the flicker of a familiar face in the shadows, a ghost twisted by anguish, eyes wide with longing intermingled with anger. Mark stumbled, fear igniting a primal instinct to protect. "Run! Run now!" he shouted. But deep in his mind, he knew the road would only lead to more terror, more choices. It wasn't just them against the darkness anymore. Behind them, the shadows swelled, pushing closer, alive with voices repeating one name, one fate. Would they ever truly escape, or was the road leading them back into the very heart of what they feared? Mark's pulse thrummed in his ears, drowning out the whispers of the shadows closing in. The car hadn't come yet, and desperation sank into him like a stone. The figure in front of him, an echo of everything he feared, was coming alive from their worst nightmare. "Mommy," Lily's voice quivered, raw and asking. "Stay close," he barked, unwilling to let darkness wrap its fingers around them, especially her. It felt like a cruel trick, the way the fog shaped the shadows of those they had lost. As he spun to face the oncoming car, his hope flickered like a dying ember. The headlights cast a ghostly glow through the haze, revealing the outline of the vehicle. The metal glinted in the darkness, but his heart raced. Would the driver see them? Would they be spared? Or were they just moving toward the jaws of something worse? "Please, please stop!" Sarah shouted, waving her arms wildly. The fog swallowed her voice, melding it with the creeping shadows. Mark's heart sank when he saw the headlights steering clear of them. Each second stretched like an eternity, the clinging darkness whispering sweetly of despair. "Wait!" Mark screamed, desperation spilling over. The headlights faltered, then illuminated a figure seated inside, staring ahead without flinching. The passenger's face was emotionless, cloaked in shadows. Their eyes were just dark pits absorbing the light. Before Mark could process the horror before him, a warm hand slipped into his. Was Lily. "Daddy, it's okay." "No, it's not okay," he shouted, wrenching his gaze away from the car. He couldn't let Lily look into those eyes. "Keep moving, don't stop." But with each frantic step, the world warped. The road beneath them felt fluid, shifting like quicksand. The branches from the trees overhead twisted, resembling claws stretching out for their flesh. He could feel the weight of the lurking figure behind them, its breath hot against the nape of his neck. "Dad!" Lily's voice faltered. She had been pulled back, caught in a web of fear. He turned just in time to see the shadows surround her, tentacles made of darkness drawing closer, the air thick with the taste of betrayal. "Lily!" Mark's scream erupted, a primal sound ricocheting through the fog. He bolted back, reaching for her hand, but the shadows wrapped like vines around her tiny wrist. "No, not you!" Panic surged. I can't," Lily protested, straining against the dark grip. The whispers washed over him, a chorus of voices overlapping, pulling at his sanity. "This is your fault," they hissed. "You asked for darkness, and it listens." "No, I didn't want this," Mark fought against despair. He could see the fear in her eyes, reflecting the darkness swirling around them. And in that fleeting moment, he realized they had been marked by the very darkness they had hoped to escape. Without thinking, he lunged forward, breaking the grip of the shadows with the raw strength of desperation. "Come on!" He yanked Lily free as they stumbled backward. The figure behind them writhed, dissipating into a swirl of anger, its whispers rising to a deafening roar. As they pulled away, dread wrapped around him, strings of fear knitting together what remained of reason. The night felt alive, each rustle and whisper a reminder of the relentless entity stalking them. There was a sudden blinding flash from behind. Another car? Or was it something darker? They turned, bombarded by bright lights and a jarring screech. Mark shielded his eyes, squinting against the sudden brightness. And as the light pierced through the fog, a vision of his wife's face appeared again, alive. But then it morphed, twisting with sorrow and rage, lips moving silently. "Run to me," it breathed. But the shadows reared up, swallowing the apparition whole. "What?" Mark whispered, feeling that familiar tug at his heart. And as the fog dropped back like a curtain, he felt the weight of realization settle in. They couldn't trust the darkness, nor its promises. Still, something about that ghostly voice unsettled him even more. Was that really his wife, or another trap set by the shadows? "Mark," Sarah said, her voice tremulous and thin, "what do we do now?" The darkness thickened, the shadows growing tangible, ready to drag them back. Their feet felt rooted to the road, a desperate attempt to escape unraveling. It dawned on him, they had just uncovered a deeper truth. But at what cost? "Mark?" Lily's small voice trembled. Barely a breath against the rumble of the furious wind. "Stay close," he replied sharply, realizing they had no choice left. They had to face the horror looming ahead, or risk losing everything. What awaited them in those shadows? As his heart raced, a bone-chilling sensation crept over his skin. They were not simply running from darkness. They were running towards something much worse, and they had yet to find out what that was. The shadows pulsed like a living heartbeat, echoing Mark's frantic thoughts. The air weighed heavy around them, thick with an oppressive dread that seemed to devour even the slightest glimmer of hope. He could feel the walls closing in, the suffocating uncertainty tightening like a noose around his chest. "Keep moving," he urged, his voice barely a whisper as they stumbled through the fog. Each step felt like a battle against unseen forces, dragging at their heels, eager to pull them back into the nightmare. Lily clutched his hand tightly, her small fingers shaking. "Daddy," she whimpered, her innocence piercing through the veil of terror. "I'm scared." "I know, baby. Just hold on." Mark glanced back, unable to resist the magnetic pull of the darkness. But he forced himself to face forward, where the mist twisted grotesquely, revealing patterns that felt familiar yet alien. They'd crossed into a world where logic had no power, and every fleeting shadow hinted at the monstrous. Then a shriek sliced through the silence. Barely a sound, yet it made the hairs on Mark's neck stand on end. He wheeled around, heart slamming against his ribcage as he caught a glimpse of something moving. Dark tendrils escaped from the gloom, reaching for them like fingers testing the air, searching for victims. "Sarah!" he cried out, panic creeping in. She had fallen behind, enveloped in the creeping darkness. "I'm right here," she shouted, but her voice trembled, drowned in the whispers that twisted around them. "We need to keep going." In that moment, the fog parted just enough for him to see her silhouette, and for a fleeting instant, he thought he saw her too, his wife's face reflected in the mist. But it was wrong. Her eyes glinted with malice, her mouth twisted into a mocking grin. "No!" his voice thundered as he clawed through the darkness towards her, breaking the spell. The apparition vanished, leaving only a deafening silence ringing in his ears. "Mark," Lily whispered, "it came back." He turned, breath hitching at the sight behind them. A swarm of tiny figures cloaked in shadows, their whispers escalating into a cacophony. They didn't speak words, but thoughts, dark desires, doubts made manifest. The closer they drew, the more Mark felt his resolve faltering. "Stay close," he blurted again, gripping Lily's hand tighter. He started to run, feet pounding against the asphalt, heart in his throat. "Where are we going?" Lily's voice pierced through the noise. "Anywhere but here," he gasped, desperation clawing at his thoughts. The only way out seemed to forward, deeper into the embrace of the fog. But then a thrust of wind blew through, chilling his bones and scattering the fog just enough for a moment of clarity. There, a flickering light, orange and warm, beckoning like a distant star. A house? A sanctuary, veiled in shadows but illuminated by hope? "Look, Lily, we can make it!" He squinted, trying to gauge the distance, heart pounding a wild rhythm against his ribs. They pressed on, their every step weighed down by the growing dread in the pit of Mark's stomach. Each shadow felt thicker, heavier, as if it were watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. "Yes!" he shouted, a spark igniting within him as he caught the scent of wood smoke melding with the dampness of the fog. If they could reach that flickering beacon, maybe it wouldn't swallow them whole. But hope can be treacherous. As they dashed closer, Mark caught a glint of movement from the side, an eye, wide and unblinking, peering through the shadows. Chills cascaded down his spine, freezing him in place. "Daddy, run!" Lily pulled on his hand, breaking the paralysis. They surged forward, past the threshold where the shadows seemed to thicken the air, each breath heavy with the weight of fear. Just as they reached the door of the house, it swung open. A figure loomed in the entrance, almost swallowed by the dim lighting within. "You shouldn't have come here." The words echoed hollowly, and Mark's heart fell. Were they truly at the brink of safety, or had they just stepped into a far worse fate? Mark turned to leave, but the shadows flared, wrapping around his legs, binding him to the spot. In that moment, as terror gushed through him, the figure stepped fully into the light, and a gasp escaped his lips. "Mom?" he managed, confusion and disbelief intertwined. And as the shadowy tendrils pulled tighter, the horror spiraled deeper. What had he unleashed? What truths lay buried beneath the comfort of candid memories, now twisted? They hadn't narrowly escaped. They had waded deeper into darkness, where reality bled with the unreal. Mark gritted his teeth against the fear drowning him. He had to act, but what was the way forward when so much was still hidden in shadows? The figure stepped forward, and Mark's heart hammered violently in his chest. This was not the embrace he had longed for. His mother's face, once a source of comfort, now distorted into a ghastly imitation of warmth, lips curling back to expose teeth glimmering in the washed-out light. "Why did you come here?" Her voice was soft, a whisper carrying the weight of betrayal. The shadows pressed around her, shivering with anticipation. "You shouldn't have come," Lily whimpered, and Mark felt her grip on his hand tighten, her terror a pull toward sanity. "Dad, it's not her!" The innocence in her voice echoed against the cacophony of whispers, dissonant and fearful. He shook his head, trying to regain. "Mom, help us!" he pleaded, backing away slowly. His instinct screamed at him to run, to drag Lily away from this twisted visage. But the shadows pulsed, giving life to the horror lurking beyond. "You've always been weak, Mark," she said, her voice slicing through the thick air like a knife. "Just like your father." The words twisted and turned as if laced with venom, digging deeper into his core. "No!" he staggered back, forcing himself to meet her gaze, desperate to find even a flicker of the mother he remembered. But those eyes were voids, pulling him into unfathomable depths. "You're not her!" The air thickened, shadows swirling around, feeding off his fear. They were hungry, desperate for despair. Mark felt as if they were pressing against his skin, crawling beneath his clothing, suffocating him. "Daddy!" Lily cried, breaking through the fog of his anguish. The innocence in her voice sliced through the haze, dragging him back into the moment. In a surge of primal instinct, Mark yanked Lily forward, darting past his mother's spectral form. The shadows lashed out, coiling around his feet like serpents. He stumbled, nearly tripping, but with sheer force of will he pushed himself onward, needing to escape the weight of their shared darkness. Inside the house, the air shifted. It grew colder, biting at their skin and clawing at their resolve. The flickering light above cast swaths of uncertainty across the room. Shadows danced along the walls, mingling with old furniture coated in layers of dust. A single light bulb swung from the ceiling, dim yet hypnotic, offering no comfort, only a sense of dread that deepened with every flicker. "Where do we go?" Lily's voice was small, lost amid the suffocating fear surrounding them. "Anywhere but here." His voice did not mask the panic, and he turned his attention to the door at the far end of the hallway. If they could just reach it, maybe they could break free. But the shadows moved with intent. They morphed into twisted silhouettes, performing a macabre dance that soaked the air with despair. Strangled whispers curled around their limbs, infusing Mark with doubt. Memories of childhood tales rushed back, the ones their mother read at bedtime, warning of the things that lurked just out of sight. "Lily, stay behind me!" he shouted, fear igniting in his throat, pushing him forward despite the terror clawing at his spine. Each step felt like quicksand, as though the last remnants of reality were being sucked into an endless abyss. Then a crash echoed from behind them, a physical manifestation of their fear. Mark spun around. The figure of his mother was no longer just a shadow. She had fully materialized, eyes dark, filled with anguish and malice. "You can't escape me!" she screamed, her voice reverberating through the hall as the walls trembled. "You're part of me!" With a vengeful rush, the shadows surged forward, and Mark made a split-second decision. He didn't look back. He pushed through the door, only to find a mirror staring back at him. What the? Panic rippled through him. The reflection was not his own. It was a distant echo of his childhood, twisted, full of anguish and fear. How can we fight this? Mark thought, dread flooding his veins. Was there a way out, or was he destined to remain trapped within this living nightmare, forever watching shadows dance along the walls of his fragile mind? As the mirror began to ripple, reality itself started unraveling around him. Racing against time, he needed to unveil the horror hidden deep within. Would the truth rescue them, or would it seal their fate forever? Mark stumbled back as the mirror trembled, warping into an unsettling reflection of his childhood. Faces he recognized, twisted into grotesque masks of terror. He felt as if the walls were closing in, shadows thickening around him like a suffocating fog.
Panic surged through his veins, intertwining with the desperate need to protect Lily and Sarah. "Hold on, we need to fight," he shouted, forcing his voice to break through the growing dread. Gripping Lily's hand tightly, he felt the warmth of her small palm grounding him. She looked up, her innocent eyes filled with fear, but also an unyielding spark of courage. "Daddy, what do we do?" Her voice wavered, yet the determination behind it fueled his resolve. "Face it head on," Mark shouted, summoning every ounce of bravery he could muster. He turned back towards the mirror, an intimidating barrier that shimmered with memories and shadows that sought to ensnare them. "We have to confront what's inside." He stepped closer, heart pounding wildly in his chest as the darkness writhed, forming shapes that reached out, clawing at him, relishing in his vulnerability. "You can't escape yourself," the voice echoed from the depths of the shadows, wrapping around him like a vice. Mark's chest tightened, a lump rising in his throat. He focused on the figure of his mother caught in the darkness, her form flickering between warmth and malevolence. "Mom, I want to help you," he shouted, trying to break through the sinister wall that separated them. He didn't recognize her anymore, just the empty shell that replicated everything he feared. And just as despair threatened to pull him under, he felt Lily's grip tighten. "You can do it, Dad," she urged, belief radiating from her. Her faith was the anchor he desperately needed. "You can't have us," he shouted, forcing himself to push forward. He stepped into the mirror, ready to face the horrors within. The chill gripped him, cold shadows creeping along his skin like icy fingers. Suddenly, the world exploded into a cacophony of memories. Laughter split the air. He saw flashes of family gatherings, tender moments with his mother, and the echo of bedtime stories. But then those moments twisted, morphing sinister as whispers melded with childlike giggles, haunting and disquieting.
"No!" Mark screamed, forcing down the choke of sorrow. "You're stronger than this!" He turned to Lily, her presence reminding him of what was real, of light amid the mournful shadows. "Let's reclaim our joy!" Together, they lunged towards the heart of the darkness, their essence intertwining with the laughter of joy. The atmosphere shifted, the shadows recoiled, as if cut by the brightness of their bond. "Mom, I know you're in there," Mark called, desperation beneath his fierce love. "Fight back! We're still a family!" For a moment, the darkness hesitated, flickering between malice and a flicker of recognition. Her real self began to emerge, eyes softening, a glimmer of love shining through the torment. "Mark," the voice came softer now, laden with both pain and warmth. "Help me." His heart surged. "I will! Just trust me!" The shadows writhed and twisted, angering as they pushed back. But Mark and Lily held firm. They reached out, breaking the grip of despair surrounding his mother, focusing their energy into a beam of love that radiated, banishing the encroaching darkness. As the shadows screamed in anguish, the mirror shattered, glowing shards splintered like stars scattered against the oppressive night. Mark felt warmth flooding the air, a purging light stripping the darkness of its hold. In the chaos, he caught sight of his mother, the real her, tears streaming down her face, sadness transformed into a soft solace. "Thank you," she whispered, her eyes locking onto his, the bond of family pulling them back together. "Now we can be free." Light erupted, overwhelming the darkness as the echoes of shadows faded, their hold dissolving into wisps of smoke. With a final surge, the house trembled around them and crumbled away, presenting a shining path ahead.
As they burst through the remnants of despair, the outside world greeted them, a cascade of golden sunlight and familiar brisk air. Together, Mark, Lily, and Sarah emerged, hand in hand, surrounded by the resounding silence that accompanied their newfound freedom. They stood together in that moment, hearts pounding, as if they had just crossed a threshold back into reality. A reality where shadows don't hold dominion. Mark took a deep breath, letting the sunlight wash over them, the warmth filling their souls, solidifying their bond. As the weight of the night faded, Mark turned to the two most precious parts of his life. "We did it! We faced the darkness and we're free!" Lily beamed, her laughter ringing like chimes in his ears. "We showed them they couldn't win!" Sarah nodded, tears pooling in her eyes, but a radiant smile breaking across her face. "And we'll keep fighting, together." Mark looked up at the sky, the sun slowly descending, casting a warm glow across their haven. They would go home, with new stories to tell, of bravery, love, and the power of family against the shadows that tried to consume them. As they walked away from the remnants of fear, the three of them found peace, knowing they had overcome the darkness, and,
in doing so, had learned the truest strength, one they would carry with them no matter where life led them next. Now you can be part of the journey. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait even one more second. Smash that like button to show your support and feed the algorithm. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about the ending. And share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this conclusion. This is the moment to show your love and support for our channel.